Good evening, everybody. Welcome once again to Friday night Paint and Cocktails Free Facebook Live Paint Party. Tonight we are going to be painting beautiful red leaves here, but it's fall. Maybe we want to make it fall leaves. I'll play with that. I'm Gary Parker. Hope everyone's doing well. When you join, let us know where you're from. Hope your day's been great. It's Friday. Remember to always start your painting cocktails event with a cocktail or a wine. The more you drink, the better it turns out. Maybe in the morning, not so much, but tonight should be good. Cheers. So, I hope everyone's got their equipment. Of course, you need a, ideally, plastic cup, but a mug will do, with some water in, about that much. I typically use just 3 brushes, about a 1-incher, a 1/4 inch, and a small. We have some napkins to clean, a brush, and a foam paper plate I like to use. And I pour my colors there. I've got a bit of black, a little bit of red. I added some yellow, in case you want to do some fall colors, which I think I will. And some white. I don't know if you can see that. I've got white there too. And we're going to be making lots of gray, which is a little bit of black and a lot of white. And we're going to start by doing the background. We're going to do the whole thing gray. Then we'll outline where we want our land. We'll paint our land. We'll decide where we want our sun, or moon, I guess. We'll paint the water if we want to. We'll talk about that too. And then we'll do a tree and we'll do our leaves last. And more importantly, there are 2 ways of doing this. This is the original. And then we did a second version where we did a peninsula where it ends instead of going all the way across. I like this one. And then you can do the moon wherever you want. You can throw in some birds. You can see the water's a little different. And sometimes we can just leave it completely smooth without the waves. I'm going to be honest. The waves are a bit of work. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, I hope everyone's settled, ready to go. Again, you can use any size canvas you want. I always use my 16 by 20 inch canvas. Ooh, out of focus. And you can paint horizontally. You can paint leaning up against something. You can paint on an easel, or you can paint standing up. Whatever works for you. Okay, I think we're going to get ready to get going. Oh, yeah, I'm going to remind myself. I need to just go over some of the things about the paint. If you're not familiar, acrylic paint washes off your skin, no problem. Not so much clothing. I always wear an apron. If you should get paint on your clothing tonight, attend to it right away. Lots of warm water, a lot of scrubbing. Rinse with warm water. It'll come off, okay? Unfortunately, if you don't notice it till the morning, it kind of stays forever. So just be careful about that. I'll tell you when to change brushes. I'll tell you when to clean brushes. Just a reminder, to clean your brush, you put it all the way to the bottom of the cup. Scrub good. Tap out the dirty water. Check the brush. If it's still dirty, do it again. Scrub, 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 scrub. The real cleaning, of course, comes using the napkins. Just keep the napkin flat if you like. Lots of scraping. Dab, 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 dab. Both sides of the brush. Lots of scraping. The more you dab, the more you scrape, the cleaner the brush comes. And it's entirely up to you. If you want to refresh your water, I never do. It always dissolves the paint. The real cleaning comes with a dabbing. But if you need to, you go right ahead. Okay, I hope everyone's ready to get going. Is everybody ready? All right. So I always like to freshen my brush, even though this one's already nice and soft. I dip it in a bit of water, just a little bit, dab it off on the napkin. And I'm going to make up some gray. The shade of gray, entirely up to you. I like to try and contrast, get a little lighter as I go, because then if I'm going to put some waves on, it will show a little better. So I'm going to grab on my brush a little corner of black, put it right into the front corner of some white, and I'm going to do about, I'd say 1/3 of that as I mix it around in place. I'm not spreading it all over the plate. Just doing it in place. And you can always change it. Now I think that's a little too light, but we'll see. And we're going to go left to right, right to left, horizontally, doing all the canvas. And as we use both sides of the brush, now I thought that was too light. I already had too much black on there. And that's too dark. So I'm just going to grab some white, throw it on top. And we want to cover the entire canvas using both sides of the brush. Now, do you see how long the brush strokes I'm doing here? I'm not doing little ones like that. And when you do that, I see that quite often. I don't know if you can see, you see little brush marks. Now, when you use acrylic paint, the brush stroke marks stay. Sometimes that's great for the thing we're doing, but if we're doing a sky, you like to get rid of those by going from one side of the canvas all the way over those brush stroke marks, and it makes them disappear. Okay? If we want to go edge to edge to edge, right to the edges of the canvas, right to the very top. And when I was mixing my gray, and as I'm adding to it, I don't care about it making it all uniformly gray. I like the different shades going on in the sky. So you've got light and dark and streaks of different colors, streaks of different shades, to give you a sort of cloudy gray day going on. You want to see that? Good. Okay, so let's just continue. You can always add a little bit more black, teeny bit at a time. Just a bit at a time. And we're just going to cover the entire canvas. Now, as we're doing this, and we're trying to make horizontal strokes, keep in mind that our elbow can be our enemy. Because as we're doing it, we tend to do this. And we end up with arches instead of a horizontal. So we can get rid of that by lifting up our elbow and going all the way across, back and forth, both sides of the brush, one way and then the other, all the way across, up into the sky again, and then down again. We want that blending going on, and we want to get rid of any white canvas. We don't want to see any white canvas left behind. Just scraping off some of the extra paint there. And going all the way across. I'm going to continue that all the way down. So we're based in Kitchener, Ontario here. I don't know where everyone else is from. If you've got a second, you can chat for me, let me know where you are. We've had visitors from France, from Curacao, all over. LA. Let me know where you're at. And perhaps how your day was, what the weather was like. Kind of rainy today. Typical fall day. There we go. I'm going to remember to get the other side there. Scrape that off. And it's coming along. It doesn't take long. Those nice long arm movements is what helps create, helps cover your canvas. I don't know if you guys can hear one of my cats. That's Maya. She wants to join in. See, I started down here with a lot of paint on my brush, and I just blended that as I'm going up into what I'd just done before, back and forth, and it helps just blend in some of those shades. That's looking good. Okay, and just continue. We're going to cover the entire canvas. Now, you'll know right away that you don't have enough paint on your brush when you're doing this and you end up with something that looks like that. Gaps. And that's very typical. I see that many times. People simply don't get enough paint on the brush, so they go ahead and try and do that, and you just end up with lots of gaps. So I'll show you again what I'm doing. I'm scooping up, I'm using about half now of my white with a bit of black in it. If you look at my brush, you can see Both sides of the brush have got paint on it. And I'm going to use both sides, one way, then the other, one way, then the other. And we don't have to fuss too much about doing grey down there because, as you can see, we're going to be adding the land at the bottom. So, if in fact what you can do for yourself as a guide is figure out where you want your land to be, or just paint over it and then we'll figure it out later. It's all good. No wrong answers. Remember, it's art, man. Do what comes to you. And I hope you all remember what our motto is in Painting Cocktails, is that this is fun art, not fine art. Fun art. Throw some paint on a canvas and see what happens. As some of you may know, we used to regularly go to restaurant events almost daily, basically all across southern Ontario, visit restaurants and do our paint nights there. That came to a screeching halt in mid-March. And what we've been able to do very successfully is switch to online events and getting parties again for companies or private parties. We did a bachelorette last week, and this week we did company for an insurance company, and we're going to be doing them again. Groups up to 60 people for that event, simply using Zoom or Google Meets or WebEx, whatever works. We get together online and we manage to make it work. We can even send out art kits, which we just did yesterday actually as well to another company, where we include a canvas for each person, 3 brushes, paints, napkins, and instructions, and then we meet up online. It's great. So if you have a company, it's something you want to do because you're missing get-togethers or some sort of team building event, get a hold of us, info@paintandcocktails.com. Please email me or message me on Facebook. That works too. All right. I think I've covered this the way I want it. And we have a background. Tara Dosky. All right. Look, as you may know, acrylic paints dry really fast. The top tacky wet in about a minute, minute and a half. That's all going to be dry. Please don't knock down my easel, Maya. She probably wants to say hi. Come on. Yeah. Oh. This is Maya, the curious one. She loves to join in everything we do, has no fear. And so she's come to say hi. Say hi. Yeah, okay. Can I put you down now? Thanks. Good stuff. Okay. Little tap. Oh, almost dry enough to do. We're going to be using black paint in a minute to do our background. Excuse me, to do the land and top and bottom. And it doesn't have to be totally dry because the black paint always wins. And this is where you get to decide right now. Do you want to do a complete lake effect? Or do you want to do a peninsula? Do you want rough waters, wavy waters, or no waves really? And we can work on that too. Your choice really. Something you need to think about. Do you want a full moon in the sky? Do you want a crescent, half a moon? Here, there's the moon up there. Here, it's a little closer. You get to decide that. It's part of the fun of being creative. Whatever you feel like. It's all good. No wrong answer. When we switched to doing the peninsulas, I fell in love with that one. I like that a lot, so I'm going to do that today. I see some canvas showing through. don't have to worry about the bottom. It's going to be black. Which way am I doing this? Probably that way. And I just got my fingers all painted. Alright, let's give that about a minute more to dry. That would be good. How are you guys doing? Do you have your backgrounds done? Please look at the chat. How are you guys doing? Hi Lisa from Brampton. How you doing? Glad you've joined us as well. Oh, you have a cat as well. Alright. They're fun. We have two. We have a black one that might show up. He sometimes drinks the paint water. Seriously, he does. Okay. So the next step is going to be deciding where it is you want your land. And I'm going to just dip. I haven't cleaned this brush. I've dipped the tips into the black to give me some idea where my horizon is going to be. And again, it's about halfway. And you can decide right now, are you going to go all the way across? Or are you going to stop? Make a peninsula. Whatever works for you. And the bottom, you get to decide how much land and what's the shape of this bottom land is going to look like. Okay, now I'm dipping the tips of this brush again. Again, I haven't cleaned it. Into the black paint, and I'm going to scrape off on the side. And I'm going to be making the hills. You can do large alpine style mountains, big upside down triangles there, pyramid shapes. You can do low hills like Ontario. You decide. But for peninsulas, I like to start a little higher and work my way down to the end. And then we'll be painting that in black in a second. Or again, you can continue all the way and just do your hills or mountains right across. So I'm going to put this down, and I'm going to clean the brush because I don't want white on this right now. Scrub, 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 scrub. Scrape, scrape, scrub, 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 scrub. And then lots of scraping and dabbing. One clean brush. And dirty fingers. Okay, we're just going to use black paint right now. And we're going to color in. This is the easy part. This is the part that most people really enjoy. It's grown-up coloring, really. So I'm going to color in the bottom. Awesome. Now, one of the other things that I have on the go is called Paint Party University. It's not ready yet, but for those who are interested in having their own business, doing their own paint party companies, we'll be doing a course on how to do that. We've been having paint and cocktails since 2015, and we had at one time 70 restaurants going on at once. We had 12 artists with us that were licensing through us, and we learned a lot, became quite experienced on what works, what doesn't, and so we come up with the idea of maybe we can teach others who might want to do the same thing. So you can look for that soon. When it's ready, I'll let people know. That was easy. Okay, now we'll do the hills. Hills are alive. You notice I still haven't changed brushes. If you want to move to the medium brush, feel free. If you're not comfortable working with the big brush and this kind of detail, you just want it for the background, that's allowed too. But keep in mind that, as I mentioned, when you use your brush with acrylic paints, your brush strokes show. So it's okay if you want to do the edges vertically for a minute, but then finish off going horizontally so they all look some sort of cohesiveness to it. But you can also build in some hillside by going down like this. And they will show. And you can like highlight that with a little bit of gray as well. I think I'll round this off a little bit. Details there. We have a peninsula. Okay, we're done. Thanks, guys. Bye. No, not okay, very good. I'm going to wait a few minutes for you guys to catch up. And then we'll do our tree in black before we move on to the colors. I will do a few waves. I almost forgot. The waves give a nice effect. There are a lot of them. So I'm going to do a few. I'm not going to do them all. I'll move on to the tree after I've done a few waves, and it's up to you if you want to just continue doing the whole thing. Once you've started, you've got to really have to cover the whole thing. Okay, that's important. It's silly having just a few waves. And for that, we will be using our medium brush. So I'm just going to put my big brush aside. And for the waves, you can practice off with sort of a calmer sea. And if you need to make it more stormy, you can. You can even add white caps. So we're now going to use different shades of gray to indicate some sort of wave movement going on. And I'll be using the medium brush. And for the most part, I'll be using the tips of it in that way, like that. Not like that, like that. And different strengths that you apply to the canvas will determine how big your waves are. So we've got gray already on the go. I probably want to change it up so it gets seen. So I'm going to add maybe a little bit of black. A little bit of black. And I'm going to start making dashes. Very important not to make lines like road markings. Dot, 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 dot. We don't want that. We want pretty much randomness going on. And I'm going to be doing lots of those. Different shades. Or you can just leave it nice and calm. That's allowed too. Remember to go to the edge of the canvas as well. Don't leave a margin down the edge. You don't have to worry about that side. It's going to have a tree. Please do not do the letter U. Don't do that. Kind of, they're basically dashes. Can you see? Different strength. The way I've applied it, just how hard I've been pressing against the canvas will change up how they do. And we're going to be doing, if you're going, I'll do one section to show you what I'm talking about. But if you're going to do this, you're going to finish it off by doing hundreds. Not 100, hundreds. Otherwise, it will look wrong. You want it to look like it's water. You don't want to just do a few. That one's pretty rough. And that's a little calmer. Well, no waves makes it really smooth. So if we want to make it a little rougher, I'm going to use a little darker shade, and I'm going to make little chevrons, up and down, up and down, up and down. Those waves of peaking a little bit. Again, beware of making them all evenly spaced. You want it pretty random. So now it's getting rougher. That's a choice. I'm going to just dip my brush into some white. So I've still got gray on my brush. I've dipped it into white. And some of these peaks are going to have a little dash of white on them. What does that mean? They're getting white caps. And I can do some, now that some of that paint has come off my brush, I'm going to use that to make more. Dip in the white again. In the white again. Going over some of those chevrons with a little dash of white. Maybe make some new ones. Right up to the line. Right up to the very, very tip top. Right up, or even over. And right up to the bottom. So it's getting rougher and rougher and rougher. Or you can just continue doing smooth lines. No peaks, no white caps. I've done. For those of you doing a peninsula, let's put a little shade of gray to show the horizon there. Change up the color again. Some long, some short. Constantly refreshing your brush. The shade can change each time. It's all good. Doesn't take long to do to start, but to finish it off, because that's not nearly ready, I'll probably have to do twice as much to just make that more consistently look like water. Lots of refreshing. Gotta remember to do right up against the land up here. Get some in. So lots of that makes waves. If you decide, no, I don't like that whatsoever, get your big brush, paint gray all over it again. That gets rid of it. 1, 2, 3. It's entirely your choice. Now with a little bit of gray on my medium brush, if you want, not too light, but to add maybe some texture to some of the land here. Highlight here and there. think that's too grey for yourself, grab a bit of black, just go over it, darken it up. Whatever you, it's all good. No wrong answer. Okay, I'm done for this for the moment. I'm going to clean this brush off. I'm going back to my big brush in black, and we're going to do the tree trunk on the right side. So this time I'm going to push this brush into my plate on the corner of black and scrape off on the sides. So I end up with a nice thin line, and I'm going to use that vertically. I'm going to plant my brush. I'm just going to go straight up to the top right corner. There you have a tree trunk. Whoop. There. And then we paint that in. It's pretty easy. Let's paint that all in black. This is one of our first few paintings we came up with, and it turns out to be one of our most popular ones. Alrighty. Now those of you who have been following me for a while, you know, don't fuss if yours isn't turning out exactly like mine. Which is the point. It's going to be yours. Everyone's going to have something similar but different. Remember, it's not a photocopy lesson, it's painting. Okay, everyone good? Okay, then we're going to do some branches. I'm still sticking with this brush for the moment. And again, using it vertically, that very thin line. And then when I do a branch, I start in the middle of my trunk and I roll out, and I use that line like that. So you may want to just practice that, just rolling the brush like that. I always refresh, push both sides down on the plate, scrape, and we're going to do this branch. Now, do you see how long it comes? That's more than halfway or a little bit further. It's a long branch. It doesn't have to be that curvy. It depends how many hills you have you need to get over so it can be seen. Your choice. Maybe I'll do mine about here. Wait. Put this brush down. I'm going to use my small brush. We're going to put in our moon. We have to decide where we want our moon, because it's tricky to do once you've got the tree already there. So let's decide. You decide where you want to do yours. Do you want a little half moon? Do you want a full moon up in the sky? Your choice. White paint, roll the bristles of the small brush. I'm going to roll it just to kind of gather those bristles together. And you decide. Start off with about a quarter size perhaps, or maybe a nickel. And when we use our white paint to do the moon or the sun, whatever you want to do, we're always going to be starting off with one primer coat, and then we'll be adding different layers. The white paint is pretty translucent when you first put it on. Don't put a big glob on. We want to let that dry somewhat to put different layers on. So pick a spot wherever you want to do. Fill it in. And we'll come back to it in a bit to do more layers. Like that. Now, I've done that. I've got a little bit of paint left on my brush. And I'm going to go and put a bit of reflection right under that. Just scraping. You hear that? Just scraping the rest of that paint off. I'm going to get a little bit more. Scrape most of that off. And continue that. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Looks nice. Okay, I'm going to put this aside. We'll come back to it in a bit. All right, big brush. Refresh. Both sides. Scrape, scrape. Find a spot. Start in the middle. Raise it up a little bit and rotate and go, 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 and lift off. Don't suddenly end. Always lift off at the end. Give a point. And then we paint in where it meets the trunk. So it's got some substance to it. First branch. Woohoo! Awesome. Let's do another one. Refresh, refresh. Scrape, scrape. Let's do one up here. Off. And maybe we'll do one down here too. Join that in. You can add as many branches as you like. I'm going to switch to our medium brush now. So the big one I'm going to put away, put it in my water. Go back to my medium brush. Same technique for smaller branches. Dab, 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 dab it into the paint, smush it down, scrape it off. Now we want to do some side branches. Start off in the middle of the branch, using that tip of the brush. Do some side branches. Again, we're using the tip, flat portion, flathead screwdriver. We're just using that portion. Not too heavy a hand, nice and light. And remember to lift off when you reach the end. So let's say we want to put another branch coming out of this one. And maybe down here. Maybe up here. Some side branches. Please don't do the letter U. We talked about that with the waves. It seems to be a natural human instinct to get fancy with some of our arm movements and with our subject matter. And by flicking, we end up with the letter U. And then you'll have a tree of U's and water of U's, and there's nothing you can do about that. It's stuck. So as you notice what I'm doing, kind of flat. You can do swoopy. You can do more curve, but don't do the letter U. Okay, and always, always lift off. And you can be suggestive, in a nice way, by just putting little flicks near the ends, the tips of those trees, with smaller branches coming out. They're not even touching, but it gives the eye impression. Again, I'm not cleaning my brush, it's still black. I'm going to mix it into that gray I have on the go. And I can add some nice light lines to my tree branches. Just to give some texture of substance to our tree. Alright. I'm happy with that. I'm going to clean off my brush. Going back to the small brush, which I haven't cleaned, it's still got white paint on it. I'm going to do another layer. The canvas should be dry enough, you can literally put your hand against it if you need to get a steady hand. I'm doing a second layer of white on that moon. Just gives it more brilliance. Now what I usually find is when we adding another layer, that your drawing seems to get bigger. So that's why I said start off with about a nickel size, and as you add, your second layer is probably going to grow a little bit. And maybe I'll just continue tapering that off a little bit. Okay, I think I'm done with that one. Alright, cleaned off my medium brush. Now we're going to do the leaves. So this painting is red leaves. We can just stick with the one color, as I mentioned. It's fall. Maybe you want to make it fall-y. Your choice. The technique used, let me put this down for a second. We're going to be using the tip of this brush again, but in a different fashion. So let's start with red. I'm going to dip it vertically into my red paint. Nice and neat. You want to mush that up. Straight down into a spare spot on the plate. Mush those bristles down until it becomes splayed. You want to bush those up. Get them all spread out, splayed out. So now it's like that, even more, I think. Dip into the paint. Not too much paint. We don't want globs. And we're going to stipple. Stipple, yes we are, right here, right now. We are going to stipple by using the tips of that brush to make leaves. If you notice what I'm doing here, I'm going all around. I like to use a pine cone shape for my leaves. That's just me. What I do not, I'm going to beg you, don't do this. Let me just show you. This was your branch. Please, 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 please do not do this. Okay? Don't do that. We're going to go around. And we're going to layer. Those of you who have painted with us before know that layering is the key. Layering, layering, layering. And that's what makes a picture pretty. If you want to do this like cherry blossoms, we will just use white on top of this as well. We'll make some pink and white. Now, there's no visible branches yet here. You see that? Doesn't matter. We're going to be putting leaves all over because they're invisible branches. You can't see the tiny little stems of the leaves when you're nearby. We're going to fill up this tree with leaves. And look, the branch ended there, but I'm out. I'm stretched. Stretch that thing. Stretched it all the way out. And as the paint wears off, it becomes a lighter texture to it, lighter shade. And as you refresh paint, dip straight down onto the plate, get darker. Now you've already got two layers going on without changing without physically changing the shade of the color. Just because you refresh the paint gives it another texture. Do the same up here. Same down here. Across the land. Different strengths that you apply will give different shapes. You can twist the brush around like that. random, yeah? Fill in some of the gap in here, I think. Now, that could be done, but we can play with this. Right? If you want to make this cherry blossomy, let's add a bit of white. And on top of some of those leaves, we can add white like that. And as we pick up more red, it becomes pink. As we move along, it's going to become pink leaves as well. So you can have that effect. That looks nice too, and you can copy that throughout the entire painting. Or, as I mentioned, it's fall time, so I'm going to add some yellow to my brush. Where I've been jabbing on the plate, my puddle of paint, I'm going to mix that around. Lots of yellow, a little bit of red, lots of yellow. We'll come up with an orange. Beware if you have too much paint on your brush, that's just going to leave big globs. So if you do have a lot of paint, either A, scrape it off, or B, just touch it lightly. You can go over the red leaves, so the red will show through, the orange will show through. Make new orange leaves. Layering, 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 layering. Now we're getting a fall look. Just do more and more of that. You can throw on just some plain yellow too, that works. Not so much leaves, but just a few plain yellow, we can do that. Remember, keep going with your brush until there's basically no paint left on your brush, because it changes the texture. Okay, and refresh, and every time you refresh, it becomes more solid and brighter. Different layer. So do you see how we filled in a lot of those gaps? Invisible branches. Can't see them, but we filled them in with lots of leaves. We haven't left big, wide gaps between our leaves. We haven't bunched them all up in one spot. We're spreading them out. And we've gone beyond the end of the branch too. If you want, you can dip it down, come over your moon, come over your land a little bit. So this is again where you get to be creative. You decide how much of this is fall, how much is cherry blossom, how much is just straight red. I'm going to add a bit of yellow now, just sparingly. Some of those leaves go quite yellow. And there we have it. We have a fall version of our red leaves painting. And of course the last thing you want to do is sign it. You can use white paint, sign it here, put your name in the tree perhaps, or you can use marker and sign it there. Use your initials and the year perhaps. And then we have our red leaves. Now I'm going to wait about a few more seconds. If you guys have any questions, please let me know in the chat. Otherwise, we're done. And when we are done, and you're done, and we may not be today, maybe tomorrow, but when you are done, please send me a picture of your results. I'd love to see them, and we'll post them up on our page. Any questions at all? I'll wait a few seconds. Otherwise, I think we're good to go. thanks for coming, everybody. Hope you had a blast. And we'll see you maybe in 2 weeks. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.